everybody, welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hi, everyone.
We are here today with a surrogate. So she's going to share her story and she's going to introduce herself.
Yeah, hi ladies. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Joyce. I am a mother of three, a former two-time surrogate myself, and also now a case manager with Fairfax Surrogacy. So thanks for having me today.
You look so young.
Yeah, you
have
do.
Accomplished so much.
Gosh.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the vitamins. That's it.
I'm sure. I hear
See
that.
Any wrinkles, Joyce? I see none. None.
Filters.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
All right. Well,
big question.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you find out about surrogacy?
Good question. Honestly, it was a trail of interesting events. So I am a young mother. That's why I look so young, because I shouldn't be this old, or I should be this old, but shouldn't have kids this old, let's say.
Okay.
So my husband and I had our first child right after we turned 18. I was 18 and a half when our son was born, right out of high school. We didn't plan, but we also didn't prevent, and that's always how it goes. So we got pregnant easily. We bought our first home. We started our lives together super young. And so when our second son came along 2 years later, that was the life that we knew. And so I didn't have problems getting pregnant. We didn't prevent. And if we didn't prevent, we got pregnant. So as I was, getting pregnant and building our family, I was also surrounded by those that were struggling immensely to get pregnant. I didn't understand it. I'm thinking, this is so easy for some people. I was naive. I was very uneducated about fertility. And so I started to kind of look around me and realize, okay, I'm fortunate that I'm able to do this, but there's so many who aren't. And why is that? I've always been a fan of like biology and learning, and like my favorite movie growing up was Gattaca, and I watched it in like 8th grade biology, where it's like a sci-fi movie. So I started to like research, 1 in 4 women, I think back then, and then it was like 1 in 3 women struggled with infertility at some point, and it's like, why is this happening? So I started looking into that, and I looked a little bit into egg donation and realized, okay, I don't know if I can do that. That's my genetics. I have children that I look at every day. They look like me, but I still kind of want to learn more about this. And so way back when my first son was born, my aunt was in the room. She was my support person, along with my husband. Coincidentally, she also had struggles getting pregnant. And so when they laid my son on my chest, I had this overwhelming sense of pride and accomplishment, and he's here, and I'm so blessed, I'm so happy, I'm so excited. And I look at my aunt, and in that exact moment of pride and excitement, I felt her pain, that she had not experienced that. And she's 15 years older than I am, so she should have had children by then. Wow. And so I remember thinking, I just did this. I can do this for someone else. How does this work? How do I do this? How do I help her have a baby? Wow. And so that was kind of the seed that was planted way back with my first child. And I just kind of fell into it. After our third child was born, we became very vocal about me wanting to be a surrogate. I figured out what surrogacy was. I figured out the differences between traditional surrogacy and gestational surrogacy. And I'm like, yep, gestational surrogacy is the one. How does this work? So I got brave one night and I posted something to Facebook, as we do. And I just said, we are doing this. So if anyone has any sort of guidance, knows of a family that's looking, I don't know, I'm just shooting in the dark here. Someone help us out. Fate would have it, 30 minutes later, my husband's aunt reached out to us. And
your husband's who? Aunt?
My husband's aunt. So my aunt planted the seed. His aunt was the one that we carried for my first journey. So it was independent. Yeah, it was.
I have goosebumps.
It was amazing.
So
it was.
Can I just ask a question? So y'all didn't know that she had infertility issues? How close is he to his aunt?
So my husband used to house it for them, and they had, I remember specifically a painting or a picture on the wall. And it was like, I think it was like a map of all the places they had been. And I'm like looking at, I'm like, man, they've been everywhere. They've done so
Yeah.
much. And they were going to fertility clinics. They were trying to figure out what they were doing. So yes, they're the fun, cool aunt and uncle that my husband would house it for, but they weren't always going off and having an adventure. Sometimes they were just trying to build their family. And so it was one dinner conversation after that. It was a long dinner conversation because how does this work? How do I carry your babies? Do you have embryos? They did. They had embryos. And so they were just waiting. They were as anxious and full of questions as I was, but from the intended parent's point of view. So it was very serendipitous how it all came to be. And so in October of 2015, we transferred 2 embryos because back then I didn't even know that one was a question. I just assumed they would just 2 or more. So with, double embryo transfers comes 2 babies most of the time nowadays. And sure enough, we got pregnant with twins, 1 boy, 1 girl. So it was amazing. It was a lot of work, and not just pregnancy speaking, but like relationship. What does this look like now that I'm carrying your babies? And we didn't have an agency. We went independent, so we had no guidance. Not really. We were just winging it there for a while, but it worked out. It worked out well.
Darn. I have so many questions, but like, how do you deal with contracts? You each get your own lawyers? You use the same one? Okay. And
we each had our own. So there was a forum. Oh gosh, I don't even remember now what that forum was called, but it wasn't a Facebook thing. It was something just like surrogate.com or something so long ago. Yeah, and I think we just like would go on there and research. And so we did all the steps. They were a little bit out of order here and there, and they were full of like, oh my gosh, I hope we're doing the right thing, because there was no one telling us what to do. And we had the attorneys, we had the clinic. Luckily, we had a very local clinic, so there wasn't a whole lot of travel. But I remember leaving the embryo transfer, and the reproductive endocrinologist was like, okay, well, go do what you were going to normally do. And I was like, I was going to make a Costco run. He was like, all right, just don't lift anything. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, very laid back. I didn't lift anything. I just went about my day.
No bed rest. You had an embryo transfer, probably was there for like 30 minutes and left and lived your life.
Yeah, lived my life. And, just a few weeks later, we saw 2 heartbeats on the monitor, and I had carried 3 of my own already. So at that point, the ultrasound was a little bit different because they happened so soon after the transfer. We're like, what do you mean how pregnant that? How does that even work? So we learned about fertility math. But we get into the ultrasound, and the doctor goes, okay, well, here's baby A. And of course, my intended father goes, did you just nickname him? Like, he did not grasp that meant there was a baby B. And so I said, that's because there's 2. And we all, I think, were like shocked, but surprised and excited and just hopeful. And it was
my God, was she on cloud 9? I mean, he was too, but was she on like cloud 9?
She was, I think there was a cloud 9, but also like just nervous. I mean, imagine that moment for those that are either a surrogate or have had their own children. All those experiences to us, we sometimes take for granted. We're like, okay, great, that's awesome, moving on.
Right.
Those moments are so monumental, and I was excited, and she was too. But I know that there was those moments of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Is this real? So it was, and that was, those babies are no longer babies anymore, but that catapulted me into this industry, just knowing what took me, essentially 40 weeks, gave an entire lifetime and beyond to another family.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. Look at that. Wow. Do you have any complications? You hadn't done a twin pregnancy before, right? They were all singles.
Yep, they were all singletons. Okay. So I did deliver early with the twins. I delivered them at 34 weeks, which is early.
Okay.
Not extremely early, but early enough. They did have a NICU stay. They were a little over 5 pounds each, so they were
Wow,
really good
that's good.
sized
Big babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're huge now. They're
Ah.
giant, but
Oh.
that was really the biggest complication, was just delivering them earlier than anticipated. My own pregnancies went to 38 and 39 weeks, so I just randomly went into labor, and it kind of catapulted me into, okay, well, now they're here. The labor was in the OR, as twin pregnancies typically are, and it was a 22-minute from baby A to baby B. So
you
they
delivered
came.
vaginally? Yeah.
I
Good for
did.
you.
I did. It was not. It was huge. The baby A came right out. Baby B turned a little, so we had to do some adjusting in between contractions and whatnot. But I was like, we can do this. Let's do it. And she worked with me. So
that's so
it's
cool.
amazing.
And were the intended parents in the room?
They were. That was probably one of my most favorite parts, is because, again, I had given birth to my own children. I knew the moments that were happening. I anticipated it all, but I could never have anticipated that moment as a surrogate, watching them become parents, going from just fun aunt and uncle to parents. I watched the shift. I watched the attention, and that room was full. I mean, when you're a surrogate and you deliver twins in an OR, I think they, had RSVP or something, because so many people were there. But the whole room shifted.
Each baby,
yeah. It was something that I will never ever forget. Because just as much as I remember my moment becoming a parent, watching someone else become a parent, because I decided, let's do this. One decision led to a lifetime, and I will forever. It's an honor.
Wow.
Did they get to hold right away? Because they were earlier. Were they whisked right off to NICU?
They did get to hold, both of them, but then they went to the NICU. So as soon as they got to the NICU, they had to do some adjustments, make sure everyone was doing okay. And then when they were in the NICU, while they had to stay there, I did get to go up and visit and, say hello and drop off some breast milk. And then as soon as they got home, I was one of the first of my family. So my kids, my husband, myself, we all went up and cuddled, and it was important for me to have that moment with my kids, because they were young. My kids were only 2, 4, and 6 at the time of my surrogacy. So imagine 2, 4, and 6, and then pregnant with twins. It was a circus.
Yes. Can imagine.
But we survived. We made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got that moment. They got to see those babies not in my tummy anymore, home with mom and dad. And it was such a, my kids just got it. Kids get it. They're like, okay, cool. That sounds great.
They do get it.
See you later. So
I'm so curious. So, because this is family, right? This is family.
Yeah.
So what are you, like cousin Joyce? Like who are you?
Yeah.
I mean, yes and no. So we actually just saw them a few weeks ago, because I think the dynamic itself has always just been what it was. So they know that I carried them in their tummy. We give them opportunities to ask questions. Their last birthday party, they had questions for mom and dad before everyone got there, because they're 7. So they're starting to get more aware and understanding. And so I remember towards the end of the party, we were like, okay, we're getting ready to head out. And then mom was like, I remember they had to have some questions. Is it okay if they ask? I was like, of course. So they, the twins are coming in the room, and we're like, what was the question? They're like, we don't remember. Where's the cake? I was like, okay, bye. I think caring for family and growing up and having these babies aware of their start, they don't necessarily have the questions that we would think that they would have, because the emotional ties aren't there. That's just their story. That's okay, that's how we got here. That's cool. We know you. And there's no emotional depth to it yet, but I assume as they get older, questions will arise, and I'm always forever open to it. But at this point, they're just kids that know that I carried their baby, in their tummy. So
oh, that's so cool.
Very
it was awesome.
That's very cool. So then from that, how, because you said 2-time surrogate, so how long after were you like, okay, got to do this again?
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. It was it was one of those things that as soon as they were in their arms of their parents, and I'm, still moments after birth, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this again. Like it was such a moment that it was
and a natural high. Yeah.
Yeah, a high that I can
Yeah.
just not explain.
Right.
And I'm like, this is so simple. And I don't know if it's, it could be a selfish thing. It could be I thrive off of the excitement from it or the happiness, or
I don't think it's selfish.
I don't know. It's a weird feeling. And I say it, yeah.
It is. I agree.
It's a good feeling. It's a humbling. I think it's humbling in some big ways.
You did that.
Yeah.
I did that.
You and your body did that. You had a village helping you because you had young children and you were pregnant with twins, but you personally birthed
I did
that for a family.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's huge.
It is.
Okay, so I have a question with you doing it the second time. You said these twins were born at 34.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go independent or did you go with an agency? And if you went with an agency, did they give you some parameters like, hey, we can't take you because you had an early birth?
So I did go with an agency the second time, and they had the full birth history. They had letters from my OBGYN. They had the birth weights of the babies. They had uncomplicated before that. And so it was a process. Lots of agencies. It's not even the agency so much as the clinics that the parents are with. But it was important to me that the twin pregnancy was looked at separately because all of my births were on time. My own parameters were that I was only going to do a single embryo transfer. I would only be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
If, the embryo split and it became a twin pregnancy, we would have been very, very careful and done all of the things that we could. But it was because it was a twin pregnancy and because they came at 34 weeks, I was approved to go on again.
Okay.
But the clinics were, they had to take those precautions beforehand. So my second journey started in 2017 and I carried and delivered in 2018. So
it was a little bit
and just the one. So that it was different because going from an independent journey to an agency supported journey is different, good and bad. The good was that I had someone to kind of guide me and say, hey, this is where we're at, this is where we're going, this is what we still need from you. And then at the same time, being the independent person that I was, I would sometimes go 3 or 4 steps ahead of the person that was guiding me and say, okay, well, I already took care of it. It was good and I appreciated it, but I was just like, I know what I want to get this done. I want to move forward. And I think agencies are super helpful for people who don't know the direction that they want to go or need that additional support. It was amazing. They introduced me to the most amazing intended dads I will ever know in my entire life. And
was that a wish of yours to have a same-sex couple, or you were open?
I was open. It wasn't anything that I had specified, but more so it was the relationship that I was looking for. Going from caring to with family to strangers, I needed to have I didn't want to be very best friends with these people or expect them to become family to me, but more so the opportunity for something organic to form. And so I was very open. I'm like, I'm going to be who I am. I'm myself. I want to match with people who are just looking for that potential to have a relationship afterwards. And I couldn't have found these people if I looked for a million years. I mean, it was just such a good match. So
are they local
for them
or different country?
They aren't. No. Yeah, so they're domestic, but they aren't 15 minutes away like my first intended parents. So that in itself was a huge shift.
Right.
When my first journey wanted to go grab lunch with my intended mother or, whatever the case may be, we just made it happen. With my intended dads, the second time around, they're on the East Coast. I'm here in the Midwest. We had to plan it, and we did. And they came for the medical screen. No, they came from embryo transfer. They were here for the embryo transfer. And then they were here a few weeks before the birth, and we spent a lot of time together. And then they were here after the birth, and then they went back home. So it was a shorter amount of time to get to see each other in person, but it didn't affect our relationship. So
great.
It was good.
I did want to ask, because you had said that they were here for transfer and we didn't ask for the first journey. So for both of them, what was your med protocol? Like, did you do shots, patches, pills, suppositories? You know?
Yeah, the the super fun suppositories. I actually did I did estrogen and the progesterone injections with both journeys. My first journey again was very laid back, so I don't remember much more than that. I don't even remember suppositories with that one. The second journey I did. I mean, it was so different night and day between my local clinic and then a different clinic. And so we had, I think we had Lupron in there for a little bit, the injections that you take in your stomach. And I was like a pin cushion at the end of all of this. So I was some adjusting to get used to that protocol. And both clinics had me take them through the first trimester, usually around like the 10-week mark, I was stopping it. But yeah, that part was different. And it wasn't my local clinic, so I couldn't just call up the nurse and chat with her and like run up and grab more meds if I needed to. It was very orchestrated, and like medication was being delivered, and it was different, but we made it work. And both journeys were phenomenal.
Did you have to go to You said they're in Massachusetts? I'm sorry, did I get that wrong?
They're in Pennsylvania, but their clinic, so their clinic was in Las Vegas. So
did you go to Vegas for your transfer?
I did go to Vegas. Yeah. So
what's a weird case if they're in Pennsylvania and their clinic is in Vegas?
So they chose the physician, and that's just happened to be where the clinic was. They went off of this amazing physician that I adored. And so we met up in Vegas before the transfer itself, and we walked the strip, and I had never really walked the strip before. So I had no real depth perception. We were at like the Bellagio, and I'm like, we could go just right over here to this building. And 30 minutes later we made it. But it gave me some really intense pre-embryo transfer dreams. So like the night before transfer, I had this dream that like Chewbacca, who we saw on the strip, was delivering the baby, and the dads were there. I mean, it was just like a whole thing. But
that's how funny and cute.
Stories for later.
Very cute.
So cute though.
It was fun. Yeah.
So question, the agency that you chose for the second journey, is it the agency you're currently with right now working for?
It is not. They were phenomenal. There's so many agencies out there.
So many.
They were absolutely phenomenal for my journey. They catapulted me into wanting to work in the industry. So I really, after my second journey, was like, I gotta find an in. I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure out what I want as a case manager, and that has to be an extension of where I'm working. And so I feel like Goldilocks and the 3 agencies at this point, because I worked for a larger place, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be so great, and I'm so excited, and it just wasn't the fit for me. And so I went to a slightly smaller place, and they were phenomenal, and they gave me support, and they had phenomenal cases, and just like it was great, but I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And so we parted ways, I think, on really good terms, and I found that last bowl of porridge that's just the right fit, and I'm thriving. I feel such a balance between work and life.
Great.
And I can help my families, and I can help my surrogates, and I just try to give them the journey that they want, whatever that may look like. I just try to make that happen for them, so they're not stressing out, and they're really enjoying what they wanted to do in the first place, and that's create this family together.
Right. Right. That's sweet.
That's amazing. Great. So did your second journey then go smoothly?
It did, very smoothly. Yeah. So yes and no. The journey itself was phenomenal.
Joyce, back up for 2 seconds. You're 2 for 2? First transfers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Thank you.
Girl.
Thank you. The second journey was phenomenal. So I transferred December 22nd of 2017. Oh my God. Yeah. You heard that right. I went to Vegas.
Are you
and
kidding?
transferred. It was busy, I'll tell you that. I made it home Christmas Eve of 2017, by the grace of Southwest Airlines. We host Christmas Eve every year as well. So we got home, and my husband made me stay on the couch. He brought me hot cocoa. He did it all because he is always forever my rock. But I sat there and I enjoyed Christmas Eve with my family. 2 days after embryo transfer, the next morning I wake up and I'm thinking, okay, I got the itch. I gotta go, pee on a stick. I gotta do it now. I gotta do it now. It's too early. We know this. So I go in and we all know the different tests. There's multiple tests you can, you're buying the cheapies, you're buying the more expensive. So I took the first response early result red dye. I spent the good money. I got the good test just to give myself an early Christmas present, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I take the test and I wasn't expecting anything, but that second line showed up so quickly, and I'm 3 days post-transfer.
What?
And then I'm, panicking that it's twins. It wasn't. But just one very healthy little girl. And I texted that pregnancy test to her dad's. And I'm like, Merry Christmas. I mean, it was amazing. It was, had it been negative, obviously, I don't think I would have shared anything, but I could not text them and let them know. And of course, then I took a digital and thought, I'm going to mail this to them. Is that weird? Kinda. I did mail it to them. And they put it on the Christmas tree as an ornament.
Oh my God, that's so
it was
cute.
amazing. It was adorable.
Yeah. I just got chills. That's adorable. Wow. That's not weird to send it. Heck
it's
yeah,
not
send
weird.
it.
Yeah, I cleaned it, sort of.
It's fine. They can put plastic over it.
You're fine. It was adorable. They texted me, when it arrived and it still said pregnant on the digital, and they hung it on their tree, and they were like, our favorite ornament ever.
I love it.
I love you so much.
20 years ago, I sent mine in the mail, FedEx to my people. I sent them. Heck yeah.
Nothing's off limits with surrogacy.
Everybody's just excited. So wow.
Get real comfortable real fast.
Yeah.
So how does
that journey?
Yeah. So how does that pregnancy go?
So it went great. The pregnancy itself went great. And then so I am in a very close community with doulas and with midwives. I kind of, after having 5 children, I get to know these people a little bit.
Yeah.
And so with my own third birth, my daughter, I went unmedicated. I had a doula. I had the birth that I was hoping for. She did the breastfeeding crawl right after she was born. It was special. Wow. With the twins delivering in the OR, I didn't necessarily get that experience. So with this last birth, I'm thinking, okay, I want this again. I want to kind of replicate it. I really enjoyed that birth. And that's kind of what we sought out to do at 38 weeks when I went into labor. We get to the hospital, I'm contracting, I get to a 4, and then she just kind of chills. She doesn't do anything for hours. And so my amazing doula is trying all of her tricks. She's grabbing the bed sheet and tying it around my waist and having me walk the halls and listening to Fleetwood Mac, trying to get me where I need to be. And it just, she wasn't doing it. So finally, and this is 36 hours in, I'm fully dilated. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm fully dilated and I'm fully effaced and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and nothing. And this is 2 hours go by. And so at the 41-hour mark, my amazing OB calls in. She's like, you guys, she's not coming down. We don't know why. And so, and of course, at that point I'm unsteady, I'm unstable, I'm tired.
Yeah.
We get down to the OR. They had to do a spinal block, all the things that I'd never experienced before. I'd had an OR birth, but not like this. And then do a C-section. I'm like, really? Number 6, really? Yeah. So we do a C-section. And as soon as they go to pull her out, they realize that she's forehead presenting. And there was no way
she's coming. Yeah.
So it was the best move, not only for me and my body, but for her and that very stubborn head of hers. She's never put her head down since then. She knows what she wants in this life. And she was born, via C-section. And that was, again, one of those moments that it was worth it. I mean, it was scary. It was traumatic. I healed. I'm fine. And healing after a C-section and not bringing a newborn home, 10 out of 10. I recommend.
Correct. Right.
Sure. Not that bad.
Wow. So I would assume that the couple is in there while you're laboring this 41 hours. Then boom, we're going in for a C-section. Are either one of them allowed in there?
So they did not allow either parent, but because I'm so tightly wound to all of these medical staff, everyone knew what was going on. Everyone knew who I was. Everyone knew who these parents were.
Okay.
And the moment I think all surrogates live for is the moment that these parents meet their baby.
Yeah.
I'm still in the OR getting fixed up and, you know, coming off anesthesia.
Yep.
My amazing nurse, without even being asked, recorded the moment for me.
Aww.
And it was,
That's
I
awesome.
still have it to this day. It's them meeting their daughter. She's in the isolette. They pull her into the room. They're like, she's totally fine. Here you go. Congratulations. They're adoring her and just staring at her. And then they both stop and they're like, how's Joyce? Is she okay? Is she okay?
Oh,
Like they immediately
so sweet.
wanted to make sure.
So
And it was tough, but I'm grateful for the tribe that I had around me to
Yep.
even think about recording that moment, because I didn't ask,
Yeah.
but they knew that's what I wanted. So
That's awesome.
it all turned out good in the end. And
Good.
amazing.
I just want to, so I want to understand, you weren't medicated at all until the OR. So you did this 41 hours unmedicated.
Jesus, girl.
Yep.
You're a
I
saint.
really are just a little crazy. I don't know which one. I think for me, I was trying to understand my body. I was fighting with myself. I'm like, what are you doing, girl? You've done this too many times. What is this? So never once did I think it was something that she was doing inside. It was always like I was battling myself. And I'm like, I didn't want to get an epidural because I'm thinking, oh, well, she'll be here soon. I mean, I'm in so much pain. I know she's got to be here. So no, not until they put the block in. And then at that point, I was like, oh, I feel nothing. So this is new. But no, it was amazing and incredible. And all of those different births, from having my own children, having unmedicated births, having a twin birth in the OR, or having a C-section, I relate to every surrogate that crosses my path in some degree. I'm like, I can relate to that. I've experienced so many different situations through surrogacy, and it's given me a huge perspective and a huge, understanding. And if nothing else, just a listening ear. Some people don't need to say, oh, I've been there, I totally get it. Some people just want to let it out, and I'm totally fine to hear that, because I'm like, I get it. I get it. It's hard. So
can be. Yeah. Wow. So what's your relationship with the dads right now, with the intended parents?
It's good. So we talk. She is in kindergarten and she's living her best life. She is doing phenomenal. Her dads adore her. They do all the things. And so we send gifts every year. Every year on her birthday, I get flowers from them, which I think is adorable, and just a small gesture that I'm like, just adore you guys. Christmas time, we get gifts, we exchange gifts. It's their extended family at this point. It's that organic relationship. Neither one of us have to try. We're not pushing anything that's not necessarily there. It's just, it is what it is. And it's been great. So
that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love hearing stories like that.
I know.
Yeah. Renews my faith. It's awesome.
So now, how did you get with Fairfax Surrogacy?
Wait, can I ask one other question before we go to the surrogate part, the agency part of it? Are you trying to do another one?
I think as surrogates, there's always a piece of us that want to, that I think I'm going to be, 65 years old thinking, how old is my uterus? Can my uterus do this?
Yeah.
The uterus doesn't age the way that the rest of the body does. So surely.
Right.
But I also have 3 kids. So I saw years ago the story about how the mother cared for the daughter. I'm holding out. Like, if that ever happens and my kids need me in a heartbeat, they know so I think in the right setting, absolutely. It just has to fit for sure.
Okay.
That's
Okay, now on to
what was your question?
Oh no, you're good. No, because she feels the same way. If she could do it to this day, she would do it.
I think I'm gonna go on Facebook and put something out there in the world and just say, hey.
Oh God, Helen.
I'm open to it. We're open to
it. Not. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm wondering, so how did you come with Fairfax Surrogacy? Because you weren't with them for your journey.
Right.
I wasn't. I think it's all about connections. And so while at my second agency, there were some shifts internally. And when those shifts happened, some doors were opened. And I knew that I was in a good place, but I wasn't in a great place. And I really needed to find some balance. And so I put my feelers out there, and I wanted to connect, but I wanted to connect with someone who shared the same passion and the same understanding for what we were all doing. And I came across Perla. Perla is the director of growth and engagement here at Fairfax Surrogacy. And I kind of like researched her a little bit. I did a little bit of stalking, as one would, because I wanted to like really get a feel. So I asked around in this, in this industry, you get to know people. It's a very big industry, but it's also very tight knit and very close. And so people knew of her. People knew of Fairfax Surrogacy, and all of these different people were kind of rooting for that connection to happen. And so I took a leap off of my keyboard and sent my resume and sent my cover letter. And I'm just like, what is meant to be will be. And so I sent it, and I was shaky, and I shut my computer and I walked away. And the next morning I have this email, and I'm like, okay, this is meant to be then.
Wow.
So I've been there since March of this past year. And so not even a year yet. Well, we're coming up on a year, but the change that I see within myself, I'm a better case manager here. I'm capable of having communication with my intended parents. I am that one person here. So I work with intended parents when they first decide to start their journey. Wow. I also work with surrogates from the intake side. We work very closely to match based on the preferences, based on what they truly want. We don't want to make matches to make matches. We make them because we know what this entails. And there's a level of communication that I have very much needed since going into this. I feel heard, I feel seen, and our journeys that we have that I manage are insane. They're just amazing and beautiful, and that it's an honor to be part of them at this point.
Oh, it's really sweet to hear. Can I ask how many you manage at a time? What's your caseload?
Yeah. So I'm at 23 right now.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. So I think the goal, honestly, is quality over quantity. We can have many, many cases, but it's how am I really making a difference? Am I really helping if I'm just touching on those cases because I have so many? So I think the goal is at some point when I feel that like the scales tip a little bit, then we're going to pull someone else in, and that's never going to be an issue. We're growing, but at a slower pace because we want to pull the right people in. We want to make sure that who we are is a representation of what Fairfax is and what we do. So it's phenomenal. As a former surrogate, as a case manager, I love it.
Yeah, see, it's from both sides. So I really think that's a big deal that people, let's say, I think it's a very positive change that a lot of the surrogate agencies have people involved in them now that have been surrogate themselves. That wasn't the case 20 plus years ago at all. They wanted to start a business, they started it, and they just pulled in friends and whomever fit the bill, and nobody was a surrogate. Nobody knew. So we were all like blindly going through, and what they possibly thought was a good thing in the surrogate world was absolutely not. So there was a lot of hurt back then. I feel not just me, I had a close knit of friends. And that's the one change and the one shift that I am so happy and so excited to see, that most agencies do have surrogates managing their surrogates, which I think phenomenal.
Yeah. It's a very personal moment for people. It's a very intimate moment for so many people. And to be part of that is not a right. It is a privilege. Whether you get that privilege by going through it on your own or being closely connected to it in some realm, this is not a McDonaldized process. This is life. We are helping bring life into the world. The moment you feel a God complex or anything like that, you're not in the right industry. Get out, go find something else. Because this is, I am incredibly honored to be part of my family's stories, to be part of these surrogates when they feel empowered, when they feel that those moments that I had in my journey, and even on the days that they don't, even on the moments where there's a match break or a loss, those are not overlooked. They're not swept under the rug. Good. We experience them and process them just as those women do, just as those families do. Because this is also not all rainbows and sunshine. We have hard days. Yep. And having that internal support from the other case managers, from our intake team, from our founder, that's what makes us, that's what gives me hope to continue doing what I'm doing. And I'm forever grateful that I sent that email and I am where I am now.
Yay.
My
Good for
gosh,
you.
I'm excited for you. And I
Yes.
have two questions. So one of them is how did Fairfax get Fairfax?
So Fairfax was founded, try saying that 10 times fast, January of 2021. And so
You're new.
it's new. We're newer. We're newer.
In the
and
pandemic? Hold on a second.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, Perla, she knows what it takes. And so
Okay.
when it was founded, we share a name with a very well-known Fairfax cryobank and egg bank. When you think of Fairfax, those are the two you think of, and hopefully one day when you think of Fairfax, you'll think surrogacy too. We're getting there.
Okay.
But it's a slow process, and it takes word of mouth. It takes people having positive experiences and sharing those. And so as we continue to grow and build, that's what we look for. We look for people who are comfortable not exploiting, but more so if you have a good experience, feel free to share it. And we're getting there. We've had 2 births. So we had actually wait, 3 or well 2 but 3 babies, so a set of twins in there.
Wow.
So and we've got more births coming up. I've got a set of twins coming this coming spring.
Wow.
But so they're relatively new. I think that gives a really exciting matching timeline that I get to share with families. Historically, we've matched in 2 to 6 months. That's what we're sharing. We don't have an 18 to 24 month time frame that we don't, because our families that are coming into the program haven't had to wait since before the pandemic to be matched. So we're making those matches happen. We're making quality matches happen. And so it's been a ride so far.
It's awesome.
Well, that leads into my second question then. So when it comes to matching, who sees whose profile first?
Good question. We share the intended parent's profile with the surrogate.
Oh,
first.
Love you guys.
Yes.
We do that for many reasons. The biggest reason is if the intended parents see a profile and they fall in love with that profile and that surrogate, even though she may like that profile, it's her decision at the end of the day who she wants to carry for. And if she chooses another family, why did we create that heartache? Why would we do that? So we have the surrogates view profiles first. And if she says yes, we are taking an additional step and sending records to the parents' clinic. We try to do everything in advance. So we're doing pre-pregnancy panels on our surrogates. We don't want them to get to medical screening and find out their TSH levels are too low.
Right.
Like we could check for that in advance. So we check for all of that in advance. We do the background checks, the psychological screenings. We do all the things that we can to prepare our surrogates for when they are matched, to where that medical screening is more of a formality or an extension of care or establishment of care with the clinic versus a hard yes or no, you're moving forward. So
that's good. That's great.
No, it's amazing.
Are most of your intended parents on stateside, or do you have some internationals?
We have a really good split, honestly. So we have several intended parents from Spain, from Europe. We've got families that are domestic, but it's a really good split at this point. So I'm used to working with families all over the world. I have a very, very near and dear to my heart intended dad that lives in Ireland. I helped him with his journey. I don't know anyone else in Ireland, just the one. But I've watched him go from just a dad to be, and now his son just turned he's just over 1 year old. And he's, just watching these people transition has been, again, it's humbling. I remember it takes me back to when I became a parent for the first time. It takes me back to the fears and the worries and the doubts, and then to see them gain clarity about it and like excitement, and just watch them go through the entire process. And then that big day happens and you see them become parents, and then you can look over and watch the surrogate and you're like, I'm part of this. Like, how is this real life? Like, I really get to do this? What? I don't know what I did in a past life, but I'm very grateful for that version of me that put me here right now. So
they're very lucky to have you, Joyce. Fairfax was very lucky. You're very compassionate. You're very, very well spoken, very well versed, and you do have a lot of connections. And so all of your experiences are just going to help whomever comes into this agency to become a parent or to become a surrogate. Do you guys do egg donation with Fairfax too, or no?
We have Fairfax Egg Bank, so we can connect. And we've actually, what I've seen recently has been egg donors shifting over to be surrogates. So I have a few now, which I think is awesome. One, they've done the medication. That can be kind of the biggest scary factor is, hey, by the way, you're going to have to do some shots. And when I say some, I mean quite a few. Used to it. They're like, okay, yeah, I got it. So those have been fun, and they are teaching me about egg donation. Something that I definitely will not ever be doing, but I'm super supportive. I think it's amazing that these families are capable of doing something. So I mean, surrogates and egg donors, I think, are angels on earth. So
agreed. Agreed. Wow.
Agreed. If somebody wants to be a part of Fairfax, how do they get in contact with you guys? How do they know if they qualify with you guys?
Yeah, so we are on all social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Fairfax Surrogacy, Instagram. We are online just at fairfaxsurrogacy.com. We have the application on there. Our guidelines for surrogacy are the ASRM guidelines. We follow those, and then specific to the clinic. But I think for anyone that has the heart for it, I'm grateful for those people that want to be surrogates. I'm grateful for the families to take that step to expand their family and to look at this. So I'm always open for conversation. You can go to our website, go to any of our social media platforms, and any one of us can answer those, and I'm happy to talk at any point.
Very sweet.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Awesome.
We do not have to put this in there if this is asking too in-depth of a question. Compensation wise, because it's becoming more common, as I've seen, if you're an experienced surrogate, to be able to kind of be like, hey, I've done my research, this is what I'm kind of looking for. I know that first time surrogates will probably have like a standard because they're first time surrogates. Just out of curiosity, how does it work at Fairfax?
So we are a fixed fee agency. What that means is our families that are coming into the program looking to build their families, they can kind of have a sigh of relief knowing that this aspect of it, we take care of the variables, flights, hotels, insurance, all the different things that could potentially come up during their journey, all the legal fees, all of that is built into our package options. On the flip side, our surrogates, for first-time surrogates, it's pretty standard. For a repeat surrogate, we offer additional compensation for that. But also as women, we advocate for specific things. We want, if bed rest is a thing, we're making sure it happens. Lost wages, we don't ever want someone to feel outdid. We don't want someone to ever feel like, oh, I'm now in debt, or oh, I'm stressed out about this. So we work with those situations. We're wanting to give them the best journey, and that includes compensation, very much so. Another factor that we've seen on a rise has been, and this comes speaking from a surrogate, not a case manager, just like everything is inflated, gas prices and things like that, it contributes to a surrogate's compensation, what they think about when they are requesting compensation. So when we see a surrogate come into the program asking for 75 plus, because we're fixed fee, we may not be able to accommodate that request. We don't say, no, get out of here, this is not for you. We direct them to other agencies that know that they can fit that request, because again, I'm not going to tell someone what they can request or why they request or whatever. It's their own personal thing. So we can definitely meet the needs of our first-time surrogates and even experienced surrogates if they're comfortable with the compensation range. And if they're not, then we work with other agencies that are, because at the end of the day, these women just want to build families, help people build their families.
So fixed fee agencies is kind of not for me as a new term. Most agencies are not fixed fee. So do you find that you being fixed fee, maybe I'm answering my own question, is a pull for intended parents? Because they're not going to be like, they think it's this much, they've got it, and then boom, they're looking at 20 grand more because, oh no, this and this has to happen. So
Yeah.
is that what you're seeing? Okay.
I definitely am. And again, this goes back to that Goldilocks and the three agencies.
Mhm.
I've worked for the line item agencies, the a la carte agencies. And as a case manager, when I quote a certain amount to intended parents, but then have to come back to them because their surrogate spouse lost their health insurance and, hey, I need $20,000 to buy her a policy now. Oh, yeah, she's 7 months pregnant. I'm so sorry. We still have to do this. Those are moments that I would forever like to avoid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to fixed fee, I, as a case manager, have a peace of mind
Mhm.
telling our families, hey, this is our fixed fee package cost. This includes legal fees, attorney fees, escrow fees. They still pick their own attorneys. Our surrogates still pick their own attorneys. We don't cut corners just because we cut cost.
Okay.
This package was very, very meticulously built. And we find that the journey is at the end of the journey, there is a profit to be made, but at the same time, things are changing and adapting. Our biggest goal is just to make it feasible and understandable and less stressful for our families who don't necessarily have
Right.
$150,000 just lying around. This
Right.
is what they've budgeted. This is what they have.
Yep.
And so if that's what they have and this is what we're quoting them, this is what we're doing. So I think that is the peace of mind has been
Oh,
amazing.
huge.
So
Huge.
I have a question then. So what if that scenario that you said with, the husband lost the health insurance is because you're fixed fee? What happens now? How
Do
does
you
that
guys
get?
eat that cost?
Yeah.
Well, so our programs are built on the what if scenarios. So if the
Okay.
surrogate loses her insurance or she comes into the program with insurance, the fixed fee cost doesn't change. If we needed to get a policy for her, it's built into the program. So we will make sure that she has health insurance,
Okay.
that she can still see her OB. We're not cutting corners. She'll
Okay,
still
yeah,
see her
yeah.
OB. She'll still have the same medical care. We're not asking intended parents to become insurance brokers
Right.
and decide what policy to get their
Right.
surrogate and is this feasible and what's the out-of-pocket max and what's a deductible.
Right.
Yeah.
We find that when you throw a bunch of what if scenarios to intended parents, that is not giving them the journey that they deserve.
Right.
We are hired for a reason. We are there to make sure insurance is covered. We are there for the what ifs, the inflation of flights and hotels. It's all built in. So at the end of the day, at the end of the journey, the parents have paid for the services and the surrogate has been compensated and everything has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents don't have this outrageous bill
Yeah.
because now they get to come and take care of their baby.
Correct.
And that is its own battle for some. So
Wow.
it's been great.
That sounds
Very
amazing. No, it
interesting.
really does.
It really is. And I don't want to just spend a whole lot of time on it, but have you run into a scenario where maybe you're upside down on it? Not yet.
I'm not on that aspect of things.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But as things continue financially to uptick, if we're going to
Yeah.
continue paying $7 for gas or $5 for
Right.
milk and just everything continuously going up, we may adjust, but at this
Yeah.
time we are so comfortable where we are and we
Great.
don't want to change that for our parents. We don't want to
Right.
say, okay, we're changing it. I think again, it was so meticulously thought out and built
Yeah.
to encompass everything that would be needed. We've also recently bundled with Fairfax Egg Bank, so it includes, the purchase of egg cohorts and things that might be helpful. So at this point, I feel like we're in a good place.
Good.
And even in the event that prices change because the world is still kind of expensive, I don't foresee it being a substantial amount. I think we are very comfortable where we are, and I think our families, for them also, it's a comfortable.
Yeah.
Families move mountains to afford
Yes.
being
Yeah.
able to build their family.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So
Crazy.
Yep.
we don't want to make that mountain any harder than it has to be.
The concept's fun. I love it.
Yep.
I really do. I mean, especially for intended parents. I'm not quite sure if you've got a 2, 3, or 4 time repeat surrogate, because they do sometimes command a little bit more because
Definitely.
they've done it so many times but again, who knows? Who knows?
Yep.
But I think it's great for intended
No, it's
parents.
amazing.
I really do.
It is.
It's lovely.
And I have one more question that is asked very common in the community, and this is for you being a surrogate side of it. I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of the times some of the negative comments out there are, oh my gosh, the surrogate's child is going to be affected. How are you doing this to your family? You've done this twice. You work in this industry. How are your children with it? Because they were young-ish when it started. But
2, 4,
I'm sure
6.
they have a grasp on it now for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you guys, my kids were absolutely affected by my surrogacy journeys. They know compassion. They know that if you have the ability to help someone, you do. Even if it's big life-changing things, they understood it from a very simplistic form, because kids typically do. And that is, okay, her tummy may have been broken. I think we read The Kangaroo Pouch when they were really little, a really famous surrogacy book. We read that to the kids, and while reading it, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is so simple. I wish adults could get it like this. Yeah, they just got it. And so I remember, a few years ago, my daughter coming home from school telling me that, and she's younger, so this was probably 3rd grade. She comes home and she says, Mom, my friend was going to have a baby sister, but the baby sister didn't make it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, my heart just broke. And she goes, it's okay. I told her that you would carry the baby for her. And her mind was so quick to just be like, we have a solution.
Sweet.
So for me,
oh,
I think my kids have very much been impacted by the good and the excitement and the happiness that their mom was able to bring, and the battle that we had, the moments of weakness and all of these different things. At the end of the day, they saw their mom help someone. And if I teach my kids nothing else in this lifetime, I taught them to help. If you are capable and able, you do.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Oh my gosh. I still have chills. I'm like, my whole body's full of chills with that.
It's so great.
How old's your daughter?
So she's 10 now. So she probably was around 7 or 8 when she came home with that idea. And to her, she's not known a life without surrogacy. She's never known, mom, getting pregnant for someone else is just part of what I've done. It's normal. And I hope that when they get older and they're, having struggles in life, or they have friends that struggled with infertility, or my sons, when their spouses or their friends or whatever have their first period, or anything that may have been taboo, none of that's taboo to my kids. They learned about genetics at a very young age, because I had to explain to them, these are not your brother and sister.
Right.
These are their babies. And why are they their babies? Well, let's talk about sperm, and let's talk about eggs, and how do those connect.
Wow.
That conversation, the birds and the bees, well, when you're a surrogate, it's just a conversation over dinner. And that's what it was. Just
pretty much.
They got it. So
they got
no awkwardness in there.
Awesome.
Kids are amazing. They understand, like you said, they understand better than adults. So we should all learn from them.
I had triplets, and so they're in college now, but one of the triplets wrote his college entrance essay on being a product of surrogacy, and he let me read it. And I'm like,
oh, I would love to read that.
What? Like, it is profound in his life now. He doesn't go around telling everybody, but like that essay got him into his top tier school. And I'm like, wow, how did you think to do that? He said, well, it's a big deal to me. That's how I got here. Like okay, but amazing.
How incredible is that did you ever think when you were pregnant with the triplets that 17 years later they would be telling your story
as
their story?
Absolutely not.
It's crazy. We actually interviewed each one of them, and so their podcast is on here, and it's cool to hear each of their stories. It's different. Each one's different. There were 2 boys and a girl. Each one's different.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And you did the 3 journeys, right?
I did 3. I had a single, then I had triplets, then twins, but one of the twins.
Wow. Kudos. And Kennedy, how many have you've done 3?
I've done 2. I'm on my 4th journey right now.
You're on your 4th. Okay. Oh my gosh. Ladies.
Lots.
How many babies are all between us? Should we do the math?
Well, between me and my mom, there's 8.
And I've had 6.
Wow.
Wow, you guys.
Oh, in total. Oh, you're talking in total. Oh, well, I
total.
4. I've had 4.
I'm 9.
9.
I'm 9 because I count the deceased one. I had to carry her. I had to carry him. I count 9 for me.
And then
Wow.
6
6.
surro babies, 3 of my own, 9. Kennedy had 3 surros and 1 of her own, that's 4. So that's 13.
Mhm.
And you
And
are
I've had 6.
19. Whoa.
You guys.
Oh my God.
That was fast.
3
fast.
women?
Started,
Oh my God.
started like that's like a colony at this
That's
point.
amazing.
Like,
We are almost beating the 19 kids and counting.
Oh yeah.
hey,
Hurry up, Kennedy.
hey.
Hurry up.
Kennedy, you and I, let's go.
I know. You know what's funny?
Next
It's so funny because I'll talk to people and I'll be like, why do we get a cutoff? Like she can go on and have 19 children and it's fine. Like, why do we have to get cut off?
Because people are
why do we
paying.
have
People are
fair? Yeah,
Fair.
no. My husband cut us off at 3, so I figured why not go have 3 more. So
Yeah, hey, perfect.
that's how that works.
Love
Best
it.
of both worlds. Best of both worlds. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Joyce, for speaking
Oh,
with
wait,
us.
we didn't ask her the Pat question. Like, if you had one piece of advice to give a surrogate,
Oh,
what would that
sorry.
be? Yeah. What would that be?
How fun is it to do these with your mom?
No, it's great. It's great.
What ask the question because I didn't hear it in
It's
full.
if you were to offer a piece of information to a surrogate thinking about becoming a surrogate, what would one valuable piece of information be?
I think for me, when I talk to surrogates, those that are interested, clearly there's a reason. There's a reason that you're choosing to do this.
Mhm.
Don't lose sight of that reason. When
Good one.
you are talking about contracts, when you are interviewing intended parents, hold that reason and let that reason guide you to picking your intended parents, to deciding what you need in that contract that's going to support you the most. During your journey, remember that reason when you're having those rough days, like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Oh my gosh, I'm not feeling good. At the end of your journey, when that postpartum hormones hit you like a bag of rocks, remember that why, that reason that you chose to do that. Is it going to fix everything in that moment? No, but it's that steadfast. And for me, it's always been, I'm able, I am capable, I'm going to do this. That may be a stubborn thing, but it's led to some really good outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's my reason, and that would be my piece of advice for anyone, whether it's a parent or a surrogate. There's a reason you chose this.
Yeah.
Hold on to that throughout this whole process.
Well said. That's a good one.
I couldn't relate to what you just said more than you know.
Right. Thank you
You're
so
good.
much.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
It
And
has
your
been
heart's
great.
definitely in the right place in this industry.
Ah,
so.
big time, girl.
Thank you. Thank you guys for what you're doing. Spreading awareness is huge. And
Oh,
anytime we can chat, I'm open to it.
Absolutely. I have your email now, so we're good.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right, I'll talk with you guys later
have
then.
a good night. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Okay.
She's cool.
She's
Sorry.
so fun. I envy her.
Yeah.
We're not far off in age, and she has accomplished
bit.
so much.
Well, Kennedy, you've accomplished a lot too.
No, I know, but I hear your 30s are the best, and clearly she's showing that.
There you go. There
She's
you go.
showing that.
Good for her. I think it's great. And I love that she did the Goldilocks search, like big agency, kind of medium size, and then kind of went like, this is my fit. Like because some women, it's almost like being a surrogate. You just say yes, because you want to be in the industry so much. Oh yes, I'll take any intended parent. And then when it comes to working for one, you're like, oh yes, I'll just work here.
Well, to get your foot in the door,
Yeah,
absolutely. And then
she had 2 others that she was with. Like she wanted to find her fit, and she found it. And Fairfax Surrogacy, you are so lucky to have Joyce.
Oh my
so
gosh.
lucky to have Joyce.
Yes. No, it's wonderful, and her stories were wonderful, and
great,
everything.
Thanks for sharing, Joyce. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
Really do.
Oh my gosh. And if anybody else would like to share their story or they have questions, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate.
It's been another edition of Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, guys.